Our next guest is Graham Motion. Brought a tremendous amount of excitement to this area by training and running Animal Kingdom in all three of the Triple Crown races. And just to refresh everyone's memory, Animal Kingdom won the Derby, lost narrowly in the Preakness, and then was kind of kicked coming out of the gate at the Belmont. And I want to talk to Graham Motion about that. Graham, how are you?
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Are you up in Saratoga now?
I'm not. I'm baking at Fair Hill.
Oh, okay. Okay. How are the horses holding up in this heat?
I tell you, it's pretty brutal, to be honest. I mean, in general, they don't particularly care for the heat. They much prefer the winter. And when it's extreme like this, you know, to be going through their daily routines, it's pretty tough on them.
Now, it's been quite a ride for you, and I don't know if you ever had a year like this before in this particular business. And when I look back at the three races, even though you only won one of the three, in a way you were as closest to a Triple Crown as anybody who I remember. Now, I'll confess that I don't follow it as closely as I did this year. But talk a little bit about your experience in the Derby and how it unfolded in the next two races.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair comment. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but I have to think what might have been. I thought he was really impressive in the Derby, really won kind of handily, especially considering it was his first ever start on the dirt, which had never been done before in the history books. The Preakness, I think his inexperience caught up with him. He was a little unlucky. He got shuffled back much further than we wanted to in a big field. And I just think his inexperience caught up with him a little bit, and the Belmont was just a disaster. I mean, once we got slammed coming out of the gate, he really had no shot. So, you know, you kind of have to look back at it and think what might have been for sure.
Now, how hard, I mean, it's hard to compare it to other sporting milestones, but I mean, the Triple Crown, it's just everything has to go right. You have to be great, and you have to be very lucky, don't you? Yeah,
definitely. And I think, you know, one thing everyone calls for changes in the Triple Crown and what have you, but you know, one day a horse is going to come along and win the Triple Crown again. And I think one of the things that's made it so much harder these days than it used to be in days gone by is that so many horses compete in these races now. Everyone wants to take a shot. Every time you run in a full field, and you've got to have a lot of luck on your side.
Well, I think you may have made that an even more like that by having such a long shot win. Now, people are going to take even more shots, but I guess people always want a shot at the glory when they work that hard and put so much money into these horses. Hey, what happened? I mean, coming into the race a couple weeks before the race, there was a horse called Toby's Corner, which was actually the one that people were talking about as more of a threat than Animal Kingdom. What's going on with Toby's Corner?
Yeah, unfortunately, they're both laid up at the moment. Toby came up with a lameness the week of the Derby and a hind leg, and we've never really pinpointed exactly what the issue was, but the bottom line was we ended up having to give him 60 days off, and Animal Kingdom's on a similar schedule after he had surgery.
I'm sure your expertise is more in demand than it's ever been. Can we look forward to having you put a horse or two out there next year when these big three races come up?
You know, I hope so. I never imagined that I'd be able to win this race, you know, at a relatively young age. You know, it's something that every trainer that gets into the game hopes to be able to do, but I certainly never expected to do it.
Great.
But now that I've done it, I sure hope to get back.
Awesome. Graham, thanks for joining us. We're up against a hard break. I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with us this morning.
No problem, Greg.
Take care. Thank you. It's time for news.